All right, looks like we're coming through. Hey, everybody. We're using a different platform this month, which is why you're going to see me fumbling around a little bit. Let's see. All right, good. It's definitely working. So bear with me. So the reason why there's no intro is we're going to be using Google Hangouts. That way Will can share with you the most amount of information kind of in the easiest way possible. So who is Will? William is an amazing young man who has started something that most of you will probably know about. And if you don't, you're about to learn a lot about it, called WellAttended. We're going to learn so much. William does want to know kind of where everybody is at, though, in the production of their own material, their own shows, if that's something that you're interested in, if you've ever done it before, if more of your concern is ticket sales. He's trying to gear this lecture to us just in a specific way. William's also a magician and a mentalist. Again, a lot of you guys probably know who William is. You should see his clientele list. We start going through his clientele list when it comes to magicians and stuff. You guys are going to stand at attention. I mean, the first one I saw on his webpage was Jeff McBride. There's this guy named Paul Gertner. Who's that man, right? So anyway, I want you guys to welcome me welcome William Rader, who is here with the Society of American Magicians. Thank you very much, William, for being here with us today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today on this SAM virtual assembly. I'm really excited to be here just talking to everybody about how do you go about producing your first show and how can that show be successful? And as John was saying, I really do want to hear questions from you. So if you're just starting out or if you're already done a few shows and you're looking on about like, how do I make my show successful? How do I sell out my shows? We're going to have things for you as well. So whether you're an expert of producing shows, there's going to be something for you. And if you've just started out, there's going to be a lot of material for you as well. So if we could, John, let's go ahead and bring up those slides so that we can start this presentation. And I am a little bit slide heavy, and there is a reason for this. At the end, everybody, you can go to our website and download these slides because everything that I'm going to be talking about is also in a podcast of one sort or another. And so we actually have links here in the slide presentation so that you can go and learn more about whatever topic it is that we're going to be talking about. And you can actually find info on that at wellattended.com/podcast. And here we are.
Well, William and I were talking earlier. He's like, something always goes wrong, man. Something always goes wrong. And it's a small glitch. I'm going to take care of it right now. From what I understand, I think the link in the SAM website's not looking, but people who are at the YouTube page, it's working. So if you guys are trying to watch it and it's not working for you, click on right on the top. There's going to be a direct link to YouTube. I'm also going to go ahead and copy that while we're here. Let me get into my Creator Studio, and I'll paste the actual YouTube link. For some reason,
I've just pasted that in the assembly chat room.
Well, there you go. And I'll get the slides up then.
And so everybody, if you can't watch this on the SAM website, go ahead and click this YouTube link that I just shared in this chat room, and that will send you directly over to YouTube so that you can watch that there. And we are getting some people saying that if you refresh on the SAM website, then it will work. So go ahead and try to refresh as well and try that, and it should work for you. Okay, great. So we are bringing up the slides right now. And like I said, I'm a little bit slide heavy, and this is just because I want you to be able to see this information and be able to kind of follow along with me so we can get the most out of this lecture. So this is what we're going to be talking about, how to produce a successful first show. Go ahead and go to the next one for me there, John. So who am I? Why should you listen to me? I am a professional magician, as John talked about. I've been performing professionally since 2008, and that number is actually an important number because that's really what started me on my journey in magic and making this a full-time career. And we'll touch on that here in a few minutes. Right now, I perform at trade shows and corporate events nationwide. You can see some of my clients here. And this is a great shot. I love this shot of me working a trade show, just building some crowds, doing the old ring and rope routine, one of the classics and one of my favorite routines to do. Now, in 2014, I was running a lot of theater shows myself, and I really wasn't happy with the different box office solutions that were out there. So with my partner, Micah, and we'll talk about Micah here in a few minutes too, we started WellAttended, and we use WellAttended to help organizations manage their box offices and sell tickets online, over the phone, and at the door to their shows. And we really pride ourselves in helping our clients and organizations really be successful. Go ahead and go to the next one. So I am an event producer myself. Like I said, in 2008, I wanted to be a professional magician. And I thought, well, I don't have any clients. I really don't have very many corporations hiring me right now. How can I be successful? And that was through producing shows. And that really helped me build up my following. And today I still produce a lot of events. So this is just an event that I produce here in Denver. It's called the Rocky Mountain Session. I organize this every year. Last year we sold out. It's limited to 80 people. And you can see we had a full house here. A lot of great people that you probably know. The next one's coming up September 7th through 9th. 2018 here in Denver, Colorado. And I can say that we already have Jack Carpenter confirmed, and we have Bill Goodwin confirmed, and we're still working on a few more lecturers. But I am an event producer myself. I do this as a living, as on top of running WellAttended. So if you want to learn more about the Rocky Mountain Session, September 7th through 9th, you can go to mountainsession.com, and you can learn all of that info right there. Go ahead and go to the next one there, John. So who are some of the magicians that we work with? Now, I just grabbed kind of a handful of people here. We don't only work with magicians. We work with burlesque performers, jugglers, community theater organizations, comedians, a lot of different organizations. But who are the magicians that I've worked with us? Here's just the list right here. Now, this is what's important. You've probably heard of a lot of these people on the list, but some of these people you might not know about. And this is actually great because there's people out there that you might not know that aren't popular in the magic scene that are making a living and making good money producing shows themselves. And so even if you aren't a well-known magician, or you think, who am I to start up a show? Who's going to come to my show? Well, this is just proof that you don't have to be someone to really be successful. And I think that's really, really promising. When I first started out, I was nobody. And I started running shows. I started making money. And I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. But I had no clue what I was doing. And so this is kind of what this workshop is right here, to just give you the information that I needed when I was first starting out. And we're actually going to go over, you can see Paul Gertner here on the list. Later on in this workshop, we're going to go over to Paul Gertner's website, and I'm going to show you kind of step by step on how he's using his website, how he's using WellAttended, and how that kind of all fits together so that Paul can sell tickets to his show up in Boston. He's working at a hotel up there. It's pretty awesome. Go ahead and go to the next one. So as I said earlier, everything that I'm going to be talking about, we have episodes for in our podcast. It's called the WellAttended Podcast. So if you want to learn more about the things that I'm going to be discussing, you can head on over there afterwards. You can also download these slides and just click on the specific show so you can learn more about the topics that I'm going to be discussing. Go ahead and go to the next one. So what are we going to learn in this presentation? We're going to learn 4 things. 1, the benefits of producing a show. Producing, I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of work. Why would you even want to do that? I'll talk about it. How do you produce a show? We're going to talk about how to find a venue. What should you charge? Maybe the different types of deals you can make with the venue. We're going to talk about all that. How to promote a show. So you have your venue, you have your show ready to go. How do you fill seats? And then finally, we're going to kind of put it all together with how do you manage your box office and make sure that you're able to collect that money and be able to check in guests as they arrive so that everything runs smoothly. So those are the 4 topics that we're going to discuss. And we will have a Q&A available for you in between each section. So if you've got questions about the benefits of producing a show, or am I ready to produce a show, you can ask those questions after each section. So just be thinking about that right now, the questions that you can ask us as we continue through this. go ahead and jump to the next one here. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. What are the benefits of producing a show? Why would you ever want to do that? Next. So, like I said earlier, I started in 2008 becoming a full-time magician. And quite frankly, that was probably the worst time to try to get a job because the economy had just crashed. And so it was either I try to move forward and become a full-time magician, or I work a retail, like a Target or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, but I thought, well, if I can make just as much money as I can in retail performing, well, I might as well perform. And I quickly learned that if I could do a few shows a month, I could easily make enough money to survive off of and then start to build my business. So this is a great kind of factor here. If you're not working as much as you'd like to work, if those corporate events aren't coming in as often as you'd like, well, start thinking about producing your own show, because that's going to start bringing you in clients and money at the same time. So it's almost like you're getting paid to advertise your business. And these people that are coming to your shows, they're already qualified. They're already paying you money to see your show. So don't you think they're going to want to hire you for a private event or a corporate event? Yes, they do, as long as you're targeting the right market for your show. You're going to gain production experience. Now, what I mean by this, when I first started out, I knew nothing about lighting, sound, how to talk to a venue. I knew none of this. And so going in and forcing myself to kind of become an expert at show production, I couldn't have really done this any other way except by producing my own show. And this also now helps me work with corporate events. If I show up to a corporate event and the stage isn't right, or I need to work with the microphone or sound, I have all of this experience already because I've already done all of this in my own venues. So I have that experience. Next is stage time. Now, since we're a lot of magicians here, you can really work on close-up magic pretty much anywhere. If you're waiting in a line, you can pull out a deck of cards. If you're in a restaurant, you can do something for your family. Walk-around magic is really easy, or walk-around performance is really easy to practice and perform because you can do it anywhere. But if you're working a stage show, there's really not a lot of places for you to get that stage time so that you can get good. Where can you suck, right? If a corporate event hires you, you can't suck at that time. You can't put in new material. So you need to have stage time, and producing your own shows allows you to get that stage time so that when you get hired for a corporate event, you're on top of your game and you're ready to go. For example, let's say you're doing a show a month right now, a corporate event once a month. Well, that's once a month that you're doing that show. What happens between the time in between those shows? Well, your show's going to start to fade off because you're not actively performing. You're going to forget your script. You're going to forget your routines. But if you have a show where you can get up on stage and perform that in time for your next corporate event, you're going to be hot. You're going to be on your A game. Now, finally, and I mentioned this a little earlier, you can build your following with your show. If you look at this picture here, this is one of my first shows that I did in a warehouse, actually. And I've got about 25 people in my audience. Now, these people have paid me to come see my show, and they immediately get put on my mailing list. So this allows me to then market myself to these people after the show. And what's great is I had not a huge mailing list, but it was about 1,000 people there in Oklahoma City when I was doing these shows. And every time when I sent out an email, almost every time somebody would book me for some type of event. It might have been a birthday party or a corporate function. But every time I sent out an email, it jogged their memory and I would get hired for something. And so this is a great way to start building up your clientele. And remember this picture too, go back for a minute. Remember this picture for later on, because we are going to be talking about venues. And just remember this is in a warehouse. It's not super nice, but if you look in the mirror, there's a nice car back there. And so this is a super cool venue that when people came in, they were excited to be in this space, even though it doesn't look like much from this photo. Okay, let's go on. Now, the main question is here, we've talked about all of these benefits and why you would want to produce your own show, but are you ready? And I think that if you've got a show, even if it's 30 minutes, you're ready to start producing yourself. So let's talk about this. I think you need to at least have an hour show. If you go to any theater show, no matter what it is, if it's comedy, if it's classical theater, whatever you go to, most of these running times go from about an hour to an hour and a half. And so if you go anything less than that, it doesn't really feel like a show. Now, if you do a corporate event, yeah, 45 minutes is a good standard time, 45 minutes to an hour. But think about everything else they're doing that evening before they come see your show. So your show really needs to be about an hour. Now, I put this picture here on the left because look what I did. And I used Bleeding Cowboys font, which was a horrible decision. So don't use that font. And I also kind of look scary here. So if I were to redo this poster, I would be a lot more friendlier, more welcoming, and I would change my font choice. But if you see at the bottom, I say also appearing, and I've got some magicians listed down there. Now, when I first started out, I did not have an hour show. I had about 30 to 45 minutes was pushing it, and that's all I had. But I said, I need to start producing shows. I need to get my name out there, and I need to start building up to an hour. So I produced a variety show. Not really variety because it was all magic, but variety in the sense of I was not the only performer. I brought in an opening act, well, really two opening acts. They each performed for 15 minutes. We took a break, and then I did 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So with that right there, with these two openers and then myself, I had an hour and a half show. And this allowed me to work on new material, break in material, and also have two opening acts. Now, what did these opening acts do for me? Well, these people were already known in the community. They already had a following. So I wasn't very well known. I could bring in some people, but these people brought in all of their friends. So now all of a sudden, a show that I might have sold 15 or 20 tickets to, I was now selling 30 or 40 tickets to because these people opening for me were now bringing all of their fans in. And I ran this for 3 weeks, the 22nd, February 4th to February 11th. So 1 week after another, 3 weeks, I built up that momentum. And then I'm having new people come because it's a different show every single time. And you can see I wasn't even using online box office at this time. It was just $10 cash at the door. And I actually ran into a lot of problems doing this cash at the door. I did a Facebook event for my last show, for all 3 shows. But the last show, I had like 75 people say that they were going to come to the show. So I had to go rent 20 chairs. And that was like I think $100 or more to go pick up chairs, put them in the space, get all the seats there. And then what happens? Only like 40 people show up. So all of these chairs that I rented, well, they did me no good. And I just wasted my money on them because I wasn't doing online sales. I actually just remembered that story because of that's how long ago that's been, because of that $10 cash. But so these are just ideas that if you don't have that hour show, ways that you can start producing, even if you don't have that. Now, this kind of goes without saying, you need to have a good show. Now, what I mean by that is you need to have a show that's worth paying for, whether that's $10, $20, $40. If you're just starting out, 10 to 15 to 25, that's a reasonable rate. But you need to have material that is good. Now, this doesn't mean it needs to be highly polished and, incredible. It just needs to be good, solid, that people will be happy to see. And this final thing is you need to have friends that will support you. And this is really important because, yeah, you can produce the show yourself, but now who's going to work the door for you? Who's going to make sure people have their tickets? Who's going to work the bar if you have a bar? Who's going to make sure people are seated in the right areas? Who's going to introduce you? So you have all of these kind of spots here that you need to fill that you can do yourself. And actually in this show, I did everything myself. Actually, I did have a good friend of mine help me work the door, and that was very sweet of him. But you need people to help you out. And if you have friends that aren't going to require you to pay them a lot of money, then that's going to all be beneficial for you. And also not only helping with your show, but also support you in the fact of they're going to come to your first shows. They're going to be your audience so you can get comfortable being on stage so that when you start selling tickets, more widely, then you'll have that good show that you need. So those are kind of the 3 things that you need. And I really think that probably everybody watching this right now has these 3 things. And if you don't have that hour show, you can start working towards that hour. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. Let's just open this up to Q&A. Hopefully we've got some questions here from the chat room. John, hopefully you've got some questions here as well. Just mainly talking about if you're ready and why you would want to produce a show.
Well, I know that Arlie Davis wanted to know what your first ticket price was for your first show.
Yeah, so my first ticket price for my first show was $10. That's what I was charging. Now, in retrospect, I think for a first show, $10, I don't think anybody's going to complain that I paid $10 to this show and it wasn't any good, right? It's $10. But looking back, I think my show was a little bit better than a $10 ticket. So I probably would have started around 15, maybe 20. And something that we're going to talk about later is pricing. So I don't want to touch too much on that now, but I think a good starting price is what you feel comfortable making. If you feel that your show is a $10 show, charge $10. If you think your show is a $20 show, charge $20. Now, there's a lot more math behind it that we'll get into, but that's kind of the basics of it. But when you keep this in mind, if you go see a movie, how much are you paying for a movie? Right? Anywhere from $10 to $15 for a movie. Don't you think that your time, you're a person they're seeing live, don't you think that your time is worth at least that? I do.
We actually have several questions here. So let me start scrolling through them. Let's see. How do you go about finding a venue? And do you, let's see, or do you do 3 or 4 of your, I'm trying to make sense of this question. I'll come back to that one. How much did or do you pay other acts if you have them in your show?
So that's a great question. When I did that variety show, I wasn't making a lot of money. This was not like a money maker for me. This was a more, I need to get myself out there and get stage time. So at the time, I think it was $40 for each opening act. And then if I was lucky, I probably made a couple $100 myself. And basically those guys, all they had to do was show up and perform 15 minutes. So I think it was like $40 to each of them. And then myself, maybe I was lucky to make a couple $100 off of that first show. But later on, when I had an opening act, I would pay them $300, $400, just depending on how my math worked. And like I said, we're going to talk about that in a moment, how this math kind of all comes into play and what you need to charge for your tickets. But I think, when I work improv, I go do actually a magic set in an improv show, and they would pay me about $20 for a 15 or 20 minutes time slot. And really, like I said, this is about getting experience more than anything when you're first starting out.
All right. So Matthew Crabtree is in the house, and he was correcting me on what I didn't understand. Apparently, it's terminology that you will understand. So how do you go about finding a venue? And do you 3 or 4 wall your first shows?
So that's actually right in the next section. So we'll be covering all of that, the different types that you can have. Like if you can get the space for free, if you're going to ticket split, 4 wall, maybe you're going to get booked instead. We'll cover all of that here in a minute.
Oh, Jonathan wanted to know if you still advertise cash tickets at the door.
That's a great question. We're kind of jumping ahead of ourselves here.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a quick answer, yes and no. I would prefer that show to completely sell out ahead of time. But if I'm in a huge theater, then maybe that won't always happen. And so I always have my ticket prices at the door be more expensive than online, because my goal is to build that database. And if I can get everybody to buy online ahead of time, that just helps me build that database. And if I up my price at the door, also, I'll be making more money if people want to wait. So I do if it's a big house. Otherwise, I try to sell that show out before people ever come to the door. And there's also some issues where if people are buying tickets at the door, now you've got a huge long line of people. And now you've got to have 2 or 3 or 4 people working the door so you don't bottleneck. And so your show doesn't start 30 minutes late. Because this will happen. If it's showtime and everybody shows up at the last minute, now you've got to hold the show to get all of these people in.
That makes perfect sense. I wouldn't have thought about that. And then let's grab one more about the space and venue. We have a question. If you go about getting your space or venue first and then kind of designing your show around that with what you have, or do you just have your show and then regardless of the space and venue, that's your show?
So I would first build out your show, because a lot of these venues are suitable for different needs. Now, when you're first building your show, don't go overboard. Like, you don't need a projection backdrop. You don't need, sound. You might not even need lighting, just depending on the size of your venue. So I try to always build my show first. And then I think, okay, if I'm in a venue with a projector, what can I do with this? If I'm in a venue that has room for a cool backdrop and some lighting and sound, what can I do with that? So my show is very minimalistic. Since I am a mentalist, my stage show, I show up in basically my backpack, and I'm good to do an hour and 15-minute show. And so build your show first. And then after that show is built, find the venue that's suitable, or change that venue so it's suitable for your show. So let's go right back into the slides here.
All right.
So let's talk about how do you produce a show. Let's go. Next.
Oh, sorry.
And you might want to hide that. Okay, great. So finding a venue. I know some people asked about this. Now, honestly, any empty space will work. Any empty space. So on episode 35 of the WellAttended podcast, we've got producing theater in unconventional spaces with Chris Davis. Chris Davis has performed shows everywhere. He's performed it on his rooftop of his apartment building. He's performed in a butcher shop. He's performed outside under the stars in a park. Anywhere that there's a space, you can make that work. So let's just give you some ideas here. Theaters, that's an obvious choice, right? But you also have restaurants and wine bars. A lot of times they either have a back room that isn't being used, or same thing with the wine bar, maybe they've got a patio or something like that where it's empty for maybe one night a week or 2 nights a week, and they want people to start coming to those rooms, to the restaurants. Art galleries, you can see there my first show was done in an art gallery. I rented out the space. Now, here's a little tip. If you are working in an art gallery, you have to be careful about this because there is sometimes art installations in the gallery. I mean, that's why it's there, right? If you do have installations, make sure there's nothing sticking out or things like in the middle of the floor, because if there are, as we talked about earlier, Murphy's Law, if somebody's going to break something, they're going to break something. My first show I did in an art gallery, the first 2 shows, and this is what you should always do, the art gallery was empty. They were in between their art. So it was completely empty. But on the 3rd date, there was art in there, and sure enough, somebody broke a piece off. Luckily, it wasn't that expensive to fix, and it wasn't like the art was destroyed, just the holder of the art. And so it wasn't a huge deal, but I learned my lesson. Go to art galleries and ask them, when are you between your different showings? Oh, you've got a week here on this month? Can I come in and do a show? You've got nothing else going on in your space. And a lot of times they're more than happy to work with you. Warehouses. Driving down the street, you see an empty warehouse. You still see buildings. Try to find those owners and see if you can use their space. Hotels. We've got a lot of people right now like Paul Gertner who's working in hotels to get people to come see his shows. Now, the hotels are also an interesting thing because some hotels, if they're like mom and pop owned, those mom and pop people are going to want to work with you to make your show a success. A lot of these larger chains, they actually have rules that say you cannot show your poster, you cannot show your print material, you cannot advertise in the lobby, on our windows. We can't talk about your show. And Paul Gertner is actually in this situation where the hotel doesn't want him to put up advertising material for his show, even though his show is in that hotel. And it's because of all of their rules and regulations that they have with the hotel. So if you can find a boutique hotel, try to work with them, see if you can put up promotional material. If not, then you're probably going to have to find ways to work around that. And Paul's show is doing very well, and he's found ways where that's really not that big of a deal, an issue. Event spaces. Now, this is also a great one. Where do people have weddings? Where do people hold meetings? Where do people have birthday parties? Find these spaces, contact them and say, hey, I've got a show. I'd love to use your space. Now, sometimes you can get that venue for free. Sometimes you might pay for it. So you might be able to even do a ticket split. But event spaces, they like a lot of people coming to their space because they're trying to rent out that space for meetings. And so if you go to them and say, hey, I've got this show. I know you have an event space. Let's fill this place out and talk about your event space. And by the way, you cater. Why don't we have food here as well that you're catering so people can see what kind of job you do? So now you're forming partnerships with these people. So these are just a few ideas that should help you get started. But go back and listen to episode 35. Now, here's just a quick tip. You want to find a space with foot traffic. This is very ideal. Back in episode 4, Bill Abbott worked at Dave & Buster's. And everybody that came into Dave & Buster's, he sold them a package deal with like unlimited play for all the machines and bowling and whatever else Dave & Buster's have, and tickets to his show. So right there, he's getting all of this foot traffic coming in, and he's selling tickets. Now, this might be in a downtown location where you have a lot of tourists coming in and they're walking right beside it. Maybe it's in a restaurant where you've got a lot of people coming in to eat. Well, those people eating, you've already got some touch points here. Maybe the host can talk about your show. Maybe the manager will come over to the table and talk about your show. Maybe you've got posters all around the restaurant talking about your show. Because really, what I'd want of the venue to do is sell at least half of my tickets for me. So wherever I am, I want that venue to sell half of my tickets. That way, I only have to worry on the other half. So if it's a 50-seat house, if that venue can sell 25 tickets and I can sell 25 tickets, then I've got a sold-out show. And so that's really ideal if you can find somebody that wants to work with you, who has that foot traffic to help you be successful. Let's go to the next one. So here are just some photos of me of where I have worked in the past. You can see on the top left here, this is just in a hotel. You can see it's not fancy, but I do dress up, and the people, sometimes they dress up, sometimes they wear shorts and jeans. Just kind of depends on the mix, but you can see we've got a sound system set up, so I am very audible. Down here in the middle, this is in a theater. You can see the set is actually still up behind me. They're going through rehearsals. Their show hasn't started yet, but they do have a set there on stage. I work around that. I can get the space, get people coming into their space. They're happy to work with us. This was actually during OKC Improv, where I was doing a set in between their improv sets. And they just did it right on stage, right in front of all of the props. Here in the top right, this is an old mansion that we have that's used as an event space. And you can see we just put in folding chairs and we've made a theater out of it. Very simple. These are just ideas that you might not necessarily think about when you're going to produce your first show. Let's go to the next one. So you found a space that you really like. What do you do now? Well, here's some quick episodes. Episode 63 with David Parr. He talks all about that hunt for finding a theater that he could work with. Episode 23, Paul Draper talks about how to get booked in theaters across the country and how he does it, what he charges. And episode 2, Tom Britton talks about how to get theaters to book your act, whether that's 2-walling, 4-walling, or if they're going to pay you to be there. So these are excellent episodes that will help you start helping you secure a venue. But let's talk about this right now. What are some ways that you can get that venue? Well, the first one is you can sometimes get a venue absolutely free. Why would somebody give you their space? Well, once again, this is all about you bringing in people to their restaurant, to their hotel, to their event space. So if you can go to a place and pitch it that way, say, hey, I noticed that your room isn't booked on Thursday nights. What if I could fill this house every Thursday night? Would that be worth something to you? You could sell all the food, all the meals that you want. You could upsell your event space to these people. Would that be worth something to you? And you might find venues that are like, yeah, that sounds awesome. You can have the space. If you're bringing people in, that's what we want. So free is always good. Now you can also do a ticket split. And this is kind of my preferred method. And a ticket split is when the performer gets X amount of dollars and the venue gets X amount of dollars per ticket. Now, a lot of people go in and they'll say, oh, I'll do a 50-50 split with you and my tickets are $25. Or I'll do a 50-50 split with you, my tickets are $50. So immediately, the venue's going to make $25, you're going to make $25. But I do not believe this is the way to set up a ticket split. Instead, go to the venue and say, hey, I've got an audience. I want to form a partnership with you. How much money would you want to make per person? So now let the venue decide, well, it'd be worth it if we made $15 a ticket. Now you're making a lot more money if you're charging $50 and they're only making $15 of that split. You just basically made up $10 for every ticket that you're going to sell because you didn't go in saying, I'm going to give you half of my tickets. It's now, okay, what do you want to make? And then on top of that, let's say in order for me to make money, I need to make $30 a ticket. Well, if my tickets, I need to make $30 a ticket and the venue says, well, we need to make $20 a ticket. Well, that tells you right there, my tickets have to be $50 in order for us to both make money off this thing. So go in, see what the venue needs to make, talk with them about that, and then set your price. Now you can 4-wall. Now, so what is a 4-wall? Basically, you come in, you pay the money, and they say, here are the keys. You can have the space for X amount of hours. Now, 4-walling is great because you can go in and you can just get any space that you want, pretty much anywhere, but you are going to have to pay for it up front. So now you're going to have to worry, well, how many tickets do I need to sell so I can break even and then make a profit on top of that. And so there's a little bit more worry on the performer side, whether or not he's going to lose money. This is why I always prefer a ticket split, because if the show doesn't sell well, if the venue doesn't pull their weight, I got my 25 people there, but the venue didn't get anybody there. Well, now I'm not out any money because they weren't able to sell tickets to my show. And so I prefer a ticket split because, too, now the venue is going to work harder to get people into the space because they're going to be making $15 a ticket off of this. Four wall, it's like, here's the money. Okay, great. Good luck. Get people in. They've got no skin on the game. I would much rather a venue have skin in the game if I'm going to be performing there. Now, finally, the last thing is a booking. Sometimes you can go to a venue and you can say, I want to do shows here. And they say, well, we've actually got a budget for you to do shows. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars a night. And you don't need to worry about selling tickets and breaking even and doing a ticket split. We just want to pay you. And actually, this happens. We just talked to somebody out in North Carolina, and he was trying to sell his show to different resorts around there and saying, hey, I want to sell tickets. This is what I want to do. And he found a resort that said, you know what? Why don't you do 2 shows a week, and we'll just pay you up front for doing those shows. And he's like, well, that's a good bargain. I don't even have to worry about selling tickets or making sure people are there. The resort's going to take care of all of that. I just show up, do my show, and they're going to pay me for that. Like, that's a great deal. If you can find a deal like that, take that deal. But these other deals, I think, are also good in their own ways. If I could just pick one, it would either be free or the ticket split, though. Booking, maybe if they're paying me enough, but sometimes I can make more money if I'm doing a ticket split than if they were just going to pay me some fee. So let's go ahead here. Now, this is a question that we get a lot. How often should I run my show? And here are just some popular options: once a month, every other week, once a week, or 2 to 4 times a week like your traditional theater does. Now, there's some pros and cons to each one of these. Let's just walk through these really quickly here. Once a month, this is great if you don't have a lot of time. You can say it's the 3rd Thursday of every month. That's easy to remember. So when you're promoting the show, oh, when's the show? Oh, it's the 3rd Thursday of every month. It's on this date is the next one. And you can do that show over and over and over. It's not going to wear you out too much. And you can still build that momentum from once a month. Now, the other option would be every other week, or maybe it's the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month. Right now, you're doing the show twice a month, basically. But I think this is a little bit harder than once a month, because now if somebody comes to you and says, oh, when's your show? Oh, well, it wasn't this week. It's actually next week, which is the Thursday. And that's the 2nd Thursday of every month. And so I would almost prefer to do once a month than every other week. But if you can do a show once a week, I think that's ideal. So you have every Thursday, every Friday, because what this does for you, it allows you to build momentum. And that's really what you're wanting. If you're just going to do one show and that's it, you might be able to fill that house. You might not be able to, because really it takes time to get your name out there, to get people interested, to get the buzz out, and then for them to come see you. And so if you're doing a show once a week, that's really ideal, because if somebody comes to you and they say, oh, I hear you're doing a show. When is it? Oh, yeah, it's next Friday. Oh, yeah, it's next Thursday. At any point, you've got a show going on. And this also allows you to get on TripAdvisor. It allows you to get on Yelp. It allows you to do things that you can't do if you're doing only a show once a month. And once you start building that momentum, because the hard part is the start, getting people there, producing the show, promoting the show. But once you get into this groove of doing things, it doesn't run itself, but it becomes like clockwork, and you know what you're doing, and you're getting people in, and you're selling out. Now, the other thing is you can do kind of what a traditional theater does, and you could have maybe 3 weeks of shows, and it's every Thursday, Friday, Saturday for 3 weeks. Now, when might you want to do that? Well, maybe you want to fly out to another city, and maybe the theater has booked you for 3 weeks for a show Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. So that is a good way to do that. Maybe you want to go to a theater and say, hey, I noticed you have 3 weeks when you're off. Can I come in and do a run of shows? And you can come in there, do 3 weeks of shows, maybe every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then you're done for a little bit in that theater. So this is a great way for you to do a show more like traditional theater. Now, what's good about this is you get this build up over 3 weeks. The first shows might be a little bit light, but as you build, you're going to get more and more people interested in coming to your show. As long as you've got a good show, that's always important. So let's talk about, go ahead and go to the next one. Let's talk about pricing, because pricing, this is the question. I even got this here a few minutes ago. Pricing is something that scares people. I don't know what to charge. And we have a great episode on this, episode 11, which is setting the right ticket prices with Joanne Bernstein. And I've just noticed that I have been sharing my own screen and not the slides.
The slides are on.
Okay.
I went ahead and fixed that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so people have been seeing the slides?
They can see the slides.
Okay, awesome. So what should you charge? Like I said, this is something that you should always consider. And I'm just going to say this last one first. Don't sell yourself short, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm only worth $5. I'm only worth $10. Well, really, in actuality, if you're setting your show as $5, $10, people might think subconsciously, well, that can't be a good show. He's only charging $10 for this. I'm not going to go see that. It can't be any good. So that's kind of my first thing, is don't sell yourself short. You probably have a better show than you realize that people would love to watch, because we're all magicians here. And if you're in some other type of variety entertainment, like a burlesque performer or a juggler, how often do people get to see you perform, or magic in general, or juggling in general? It's really not very often. I can count on my hand how many shows in Denver this week. There's maybe 2 or 3 magic shows going on in Denver right now, this, for the whole month, maybe even. And so we're in this very specialized field that people will pay money to go see. So don't sell yourself short. That's my first point, even though it's last. But you really need to start looking at other shows in your area and see what they charge. Now, I'm not saying about Hamilton, right? $150, unless that's your market. If that's your market and you think you can get away with $500 for front row seats, then go for it. But really, look at other community theaters, burlesque performers, variety entertainers, comedians, your local comedy club. What are they charging for admission? See what they're charging and say, okay, this kind of gives me a baseline so that I know what people are willing to pay. Now, sometimes that baseline could be off. Maybe people would be willing to pay more than what these other places around you are paying. But this is going to sound backwards, but you can always up your price. In fact, it's always easier to raise your price than it is to lower your price. Now, let's think about this, because you would think that, oh, it's easier to lower my price. No, it's easier to raise your price. Because what happens if you're selling $50 tickets for a month, and then all of a sudden, and you're advertising it everywhere, $50, $50, $50, and then suddenly you start advertising your show as $25. What is your audience perception going to be, or the public perception? Well, this is a horrible show. He couldn't sell tickets at $50. Now he's selling them at $25. I'm not going to go to that. So immediately your public perception becomes kind of off. Also, let's say you're selling $50 tickets. Nobody's showing up. You start giving discount codes. Get half off. Use promo code, my show is cool, for 50% off, right? Now, what is the public getting again? Oh, he can't sell out his show. He's got to put promo codes out here so he can sell out. Well, this must not be a good show. But instead, what if you started at $25 and you start gradually gaining momentum? You're starting to build an audience. People are starting to come. Finally, you're starting to sell out. Now you have a reason to up your price. I'm selling out every night. Instead of $25, it's now $35. And you might lose some people, but you can have that record of my show is sold out. I can now raise my price. And the public perception now is, wow, this must be a good show. He's even upped his price. And so start at a reasonable rate and then slowly move up. Don't start at the bottom, because like I said, this happened with my own show. I was charging $10 a ticket. I couldn't get anybody to show up to it. And I had no clue why. I raised my price up to $25. Suddenly, I start selling out my shows. I raised my price up to $35. I'm still selling out, right? And so there's something, I think, with perception there among those $10 tickets versus a $25 or $35 ticket. And that was an important lesson that I learned. I just produced a show here for the Rocky Mountain session last year. I brought in Tyler Wilson. We had 25 seats. And I said, hey, Tyler, let's run an experiment. I'm just curious what the market can bear here in Denver. So let's have your front row be $75 and let's have your second row be $50. And let's just see what happens. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm game. Let's do it. So we were at Union Station, which is here downtown where the trains come in. And we were in the basement level, really nice venue, $75 seats. I think it was like maybe 10 in that first row, immediately sold out. $75 tickets immediately sold out. The second row, the $50 tickets, those were harder to sell. We did eventually sell them out, but that was a lot harder sell. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but I think the people that want to see Tyler Wilson, they're excited to see him. They don't care what they have to pay. The rest of the public, well, I don't know if it's worth $50 or not. Maybe I'll buy some, maybe I won't. Which also in pricing, and I think we might touch on this here in a minute, I think VIP tickets are always ideal. Put your front row, charge more for that front row ticket because people will buy them, and you'll find that you're selling that front row out more often than not before maybe even any of your other tickets sell, which is fascinating to me. And you can make more money by just giving away that front row section. Where was I? Got off on a tangent here.
About, that, I guess that's profit.
Yeah. So, running the experiment. So I just thought, what could the market bear? And we were able to sell tickets at $75 and $50. And that surprised me a little bit for the Denver market. But now that's kind of a lesson learned. Like, people are willing to pay more for a show than what I originally thought here in Denver. So don't be afraid to experiment, I guess is what I'm saying. So so you need to find what is your break-even point. And we'll show some numbers here in a moment, but how much are you paying for the venue, paying for your print marketing, paying for the person helping you at the door, paying your openers? How much are you paying for all of this? How much do you need to make in order to break even? Now, I always want my house to have a 50% break even point. So if I've got 50 people coming or 50 people available to be seated, I want 25 people to be my break-even point. And if you're first starting out, you might want 20 people out of that 50 to be your break-even point, or even 15 of those 50 to be your break-even point. So you might have to find a venue that can work in this situation, because I don't want you to lose money during that first show, because that's heartbreaking, right? You go in, you do a show, you get all excited, and then you're losing money after all of this work. That sucks. So try to make your break-even point as few as people as possible. If you've got a 50-seat house and you can break even with 15 people showing up, if you can pull in 15 people, you're making profit on top of that. So figure out what your break-even point is, and then how much profit do you want to make off of those shows? So let's say I need to make $250, and my break-even point is, let's say, 30 people. Now, I don't really have a lot of room for that profit margin, and if I sell out, I'll make that $250. So let's go ahead and go to the next slides where I can explain this. So let's say that your rental cost for your theater, and say rental cost is including paying your opener and paying the guy helping you at the door. Let's say that this kind of includes everything. Your rental cost is $500, and you have a 50-seat house. Now, let's say, well, I only want to charge $15 a ticket because that's what I want to charge. Well, your break even now is 34 tickets. You have to sell 34 tickets in order to not lose money. Now, if you sell out, your possible profit is only $250. So if I was working this scenario, I would say your tickets are too cheap, because there's no way you're making money off of this show. If you can get 40 people to show up, you're not even making enough money with all the work that you put in. Go get a job at Starbucks and you'll make more money than what you did producing this show right here. Let's look at rental costs for the second example here. So let's say everything together is $500 and you've got a 50-seat house. And now your tickets are $25 a ticket. That's only $10 more than previously, but let's say it's $25 a ticket. And I think this is a reasonable price. Your break even is now 20 tickets. This is ideal. It's less than your full house. So you're less than your full house. Your break even is 20 tickets. And now your profit is $750. I think this is not really a bad scenario. I can go in, maybe I find a venue across the street, or maybe it's a 20-minute drive to the venue. I can show up, do my show. If it sells out, I can make $750. Plus, I'm building my mailing list. I'm getting people to come see me. I'm getting people interested in me. I'm building a buzz. I'm getting in the papers. I'm getting on TV. I'm doing all of these things. And on top of all of this advertising for myself, which is free, I'm also making money. That's a pretty good scenario in my ideal, I guess, show, $750. But now let's go to the next slide here. Just show you how much money you could possibly make. Let's say that your rental is $500 for everything. Let's say you have a 50-seat house again, but instead you're doubling your ticket price. You're doing $50 a ticket. Now your break even is only 10 tickets. Do you think you could sell 50 seats at $50? If so, then your profit is now $2,000 for one show, and it's only a 50-seat house, right? All of your expenses is $500. But do you think you could get 10 people to show up to your show at $50 a ticket? Because if you can get 10 people to show up at $50 a ticket, you now have broken even. You're not losing money on this show anymore. Anything on top of that is icing on the cake. Now, I'm not saying go out and do a $50 show. What I am saying, though, is this is something that you can work towards because the money really is here if you can work out this math appropriately. Now, how can you kind of skew this towards your favor? Well, maybe you find a venue that costs a little less money. Maybe you work out a ticket split where their split is a little bit less, or you can add more on top of your end. Maybe you can find a house instead of 50 seats, maybe there's 75 seats. So now instead of a $50 ticket, you can have a $35 ticket, and your numbers are still going to work out as they need to. But figure out what all of your costs are first, figure out how much you want to make if you sell out, and then that's how you determine your ticket price. And that's really that ticket price, whatever that number is. Now it's up to your job to decide, can I or can I not sell tickets at this price? And if you can't, then you need to rework your numbers, find a cheaper venue, find staff that might work for you a little bit cheaper. I don't know what that is, but you've got to kind of wiggle around those numbers to see what works for you. Let's go ahead and go to the next one, which is the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, I know we kind of covered a lot here, everything from finding a venue, once you found a venue, how to secure the space, what to charge for the tickets. We've covered a lot here. So if you have any questions, please let me know, because I really do want to help you guys be successful here.
I know that one of the questions, one of the questions that was raised earlier that we didn't quite get to was about selling refreshments and things like that. So how do you feel about that, and do you incorporate that?
So this really varies per venue. So I'll just give you a few examples. I worked a bar. The arrangement that I had with them was I could have the space, but they're going to make everything off the bar. And so I get to use the space, which is awesome. And the bar sales, they could have. I really don't care about that because I'm making money off my tickets. They keep all the bar sales. You might go in and find a venue that says, hey, we want you to rent the space, but we'll half the bar with you. And that's a pretty good deal. If you can get people drinking, people having fun, you can make part of those bar sales. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and it kind of varies state by state. But a lot of times, if you don't have a liquor license, you cannot sell alcohol. Let me say that again. If you don't have a liquor license, you cannot sell alcohol.
Don't do it, people.
Don't do it. But there's kind of a workaround. Sometimes event centers will have a liquor license. And then since they're hosting the event, as long as they're providing the alcohol and selling it themselves, then you can sell alcohol. So you would bring your own, and then you would basically have them sell it using their license. Now, they might want a percentage of that. They might let you keep all of that. That's something for you to work out with the venue. But just check, see if they've got a liquor license, see if they can use yours if you provide the alcohol. I'm sorry, if you can use theirs if you provide the alcohol. Now, the other workaround is you bring liquor, and it's free, but people can donate because they're not paying for the alcohol. They're just donating. This is a workaround that, like I said, it varies per state. Please look into your rules. But this is a workaround that you can do. So what I was doing in Norman, I was actually performing at a restaurant there called Trey's Cantina. And I would work there performing walk-around magic, and then I would do my stage show like in that art gallery. And I worked out a deal with them. I said, hey, why don't we form a partnership here? I'll advertise your restaurant to everybody that comes to my show. Could you guys provide me with sangrias? And then I can talk about your sangrias and how awesome they are at your restaurant. Oh yeah, sure. So they gave me for free a big, a huge pitcher of sangria. And it was just kind of like a pour your own because you can't serve, right? So everybody has to get their own. And then I just had a donation cup, and I made, I want to say like $40 to $60 a night just off of people putting that in the tip jar. And so this is another way you can work it. Just be careful. Make sure you're not doing anything you shouldn't be doing, because you really don't want to get busted with these liquor laws. And so those are just kind of some different scenarios that hopefully you can look into.
Sure. Cody Clark. Actually, Cody just did a show, I think, with Lance Burton recently. But
I heard about that.
Yeah. He has a question. Do you feel fringe festivals are a good place for magicians to produce their shows?
Yeah, and we have a lot of clients actually that also produce fringe. And I know you do a lot of fringe festivals. I think fringe festivals are awesome. I haven't performed any myself, but I have helped produce people's shows in fringe festivals. And I think they're awesome for a few reasons. One, you get to do your show over and over and over again, right? You're doing your show maybe 3 times in a day if you're lucky. And you're learning, how do I build my audience? What can I do just locally to get people to my show? Can I go to other people's lines and hand out posters? What kind of printed material works? And this is kind of a quick turnaround too, because you're doing Fringe Festival, then another one, and then another one. So you can quickly change your marketing, quickly change your strategies, and you can see what's working, what's not working. And then second, you get that stage time, you get that production experience of being on stage, of doing your show over and over. And so I think if you have the opportunity and the time to go work fringe festivals, Cody, I think you're doing an awesome job, by the way. I think that is definitely the way to go, because you get time on stage and just production experience, and you get to meet so many people and grow your network that you really can't do any other way. So yeah, do a fringe festival.
Matthew wanted to know, how do you first approach venues? Do you cold call them? What has been the most successful venue type in your experience?
So this is where the rubber hits the road. Finding a venue is very difficult. And if you listen to that David Parr episode, I don't remember how long he says it took him to find a venue, but once he found a venue, he was there for 10 years, which is remarkable. But yeah, so I like, for one, kind of being familiar with my area. And what does this mean? Well, do you go out to eat? What restaurants do you go to? What restaurants have you found have a back of a room? And what I like to do is, instead of spending all of my money eating out everywhere, sometimes I'll go to a venue and I'll say, hey, I'm thinking about throwing a party. I'd love to see your space. Do you have a menu? And then they'll give you the menu. I can see how much they're charging for their items, because if they're charging $3 a taco, well, maybe I want a more high class place. So maybe I'll go to a place that's selling $50 meals. But maybe my market is the family market, people with, lots of kids. Maybe I am the $3 taco place, and that's my market. And I go, oh, this is awesome. Everything's affordable here. They've got a room. And now I can target that. So it really depends on what your target is. But so I like going around, and it takes time, checking out the venue, seeing who has the space. Once I know that, I write a list, get back to your car, write down, okay, this place didn't have any space, this place did have a space, etc. And sometimes right then, be prepared for this, because sometimes the manager or the GM will come out and start talking to you. And so have kind of in your mind what that pitch might be. Don't just be like, okay, bye. And then, that's awkward, because they might remember you, right? Yeah. And so, just be prepared with some type of pitch, have an idea of what you want to use the space for. And then, just in case you do talk to that person, but I first want to go to all of the places, see if they have the space, kind of formulate a few ideas, figure out, okay, this would be my choice A, choice B, choice C. A lot of times, right when you walk into the restaurant, the name of the manager is right on the front door. So you immediately know who that manager is. So I take a note of that. And then I try to call, if it's a restaurant, I try to call in between maybe 1:30 and maybe 3, because that's their slower time. They've got time during that period. And that's when I am going to then set up a meeting. And I don't necessarily tell them what I want from them over the phone, because a lot of times they're like, oh no, we don't want anything like that. So I don't want to give them an opportunity to shut me down before I'm even there. And so I basically say, hey, I'm interested in utilizing your space. I would love to set up a meeting with you so we can talk in more detail about that. And normally they don't pry, they want people in their space, and they'll set up a meeting with you. So that's what I traditionally do. And then in that meeting, I might have my website up on my phone. I might have some press clippings. Like if I was just in the paper, I might bring that paper and say, look, a few months ago I was in the paper. Look, this is what I can do for you. But have whatever that pitch is ready so that you don't show up and you're not good to go. So that's traditionally what I do. Now, as far as venues, I have found probably my best experiences either to be in a theater space or in a restaurant or wine bar of some type. And the reason why that is because of that foot traffic. Once again, theaters, they already have a patron database. If you can piggyback on top of that patron database and say, hey, we've got this awesome magician performing. You liked Annie? Well, you'll love this magician, right? Whatever it is they'll be willing to work with you. Good theaters will be willing to work with you to help sell tickets to your show as well as theirs. And this is something that you should pitch to the theater too. Say, how many people in your audience are over 60, over 50? Wouldn't you love to get a young crowd into your theater? Well, I'm the type of guy that can help you with this. I'm going to bring young people into my show. We're going to get them excited about theater, and then you can talk about the shows that you're producing. And so figure out ways that you would form partnerships with these people instead of just going in and four-walling it and say, here's my money and doing something like that. Really start thinking about how can you benefit them? What can you bring to the table? And that's what you want to pitch. Maybe it is bringing in a younger audience. Maybe it is filling it up on a Wednesday night when they have nothing else there traditionally. Think about these things. Same with the restaurants. What can you do to benefit them? You can get buzz. You can get in the papers. You can get on the news. They pay a lot of money to get on TV. Now you're on TV talking about their place and it doesn't cost them anything. That's beneficial for that restaurant. So think about all of these things. And when you go to pitch, that's what your pitch is. How can I help you? Not how you can help me. Right. Because by the end of it, you want them excited to, oh, this is awesome. You can do all of this for me. And I don't even have to pay you. And we're going to do a ticket split so we both make money off of this. Oh, that's a great idea. Who would turn that down? But you have to present that in the way that it benefits them. That's the I guess key point of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Arlie Davis is curious. I am too. Do you recommend back of the room sales at your shows?
So that is a good question. We actually, I'll show you an episode on this. Highly recommend back of the room sales. We just did a podcast episode with Tom Britton. I believe it was episode 72.
Tom's in the room tonight too.
Oh, is he? Hey, Tom. Thanks for coming here tonight. So with Tom Britton, I think it was episode 72 where he talks about print marketing and how you can take your print marketing and sell that in the back of the house. And he sells things like bookmarks, his posters, buttons, anything that's printed, you can sell and make money off of that. And don't think like, well, who would want a poster of me? Tom would tell you the same thing. Like, who would want a poster of me? But he tells me time and time again that somebody has it hanging up on their wall in their house. They don't have any other art in their house, but they have a picture of him and his poster on their wall. Like, that's really cool. And so don't just think because, well, to me, it's not worth anything. To other people, it is going to be worth something. And so, yeah, highly recommend that.
And then Howard Stevens has a question, but I think you're going to hit on it later on. It's about how and where to advertise a show.
Yes. So we're actually, that's a great segue.
Well,
unless we have any other questions.
Yeah, Jonathan has one that I wanted to hit, and then I just wanted to let Howard know.
Oh, sure.
We're getting to that. Jonathan wanted to know, any experience with nonprofit venues? Could you write off their split as a donation or get an easier beer and wine temp license and make money with raffles? Just curious.
So I'm not the fundraiser guy myself. I'm sure there's people out there that would be better to talk about that. But I'm pretty sure that at any time you're giving money to an organization, that you can write that off as a donation.
Yeah.
And I would really, if you have an organization that you want to work with, I'm sure they have a whole team that's designated to help people like you figure out what you can write off, what you can't write off. And I'm sure also probably every organization is different. And so what I would do, if you do have an organization that you'd like to work with, approach them because they've probably done something similar in the past and they can kind of let you know what they would like to do. Because I know sometimes if you are producing a fundraiser, this can help with your marketing. And what I mean by that is if you're giving 10% or 20% or 30% to a cause, Now, that organization, that cause is going to help you promote your show. So if they've got a database of 20,000 people and you're going to donate 30% of your show revenue to that organization is now going to help you promote your show. And you can probably write that 30% off as a tax deduction, or you might not even mark that 30% as income on your half and just take in what's income and give the rest to the organization. Like I said, I'm not sure about the details on that, but working with organizations is a great idea because they can also help you fill your seats and you can give back to a great cause while you're at it. So great question there. Sorry, I don't know too much information on that. So let's jump right in here to how you can start promoting your show, because this is where the rubber hits the road. You've got your venue, you've got your ticket price, you're ready to go. Now, how do you promote it? That's a great question. So let's get right into this. Next, please.
Oh, and then do you want to share the screen, or I can go in and do it?
Yeah, this is later. I think I just shared it to everybody.
Oh, there it goes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay, great. Forward there. Great. So let's talk about how to promote your show. And this is, first of all, if you haven't listened to this episode yet, episode 69, how to create a marketing plan with Philip Pareto. Now, this is important because on our blog, we actually have a download. And in this download, we have a calendar, a full calendar that Philip uses. Philip's out in Las Vegas. He produces comedy clubs, a ton of comedy shows a week. And he's got this marketing calendar where he breaks down every single thing that he does. And he does this 3 weeks out, this 2 weeks out, this 1 week out, this the day of the show. And so go to episode 69, download this right now, and this will give you a huge marketing plan that you can start putting into action. But these are kind of the top things right here that I'm going to go over, that we have also podcast episodes for, that you can really start utilizing to fill your seats. The first thing is the media. Build relationships with the media. We've got 2 episodes here with Dominique Calabrese, who's actually the president of the Publicity Club there in Chicago. So he knows a lot about publicity and how to start developing media relationships. And it's easy. It really is easy. Open up your paper. Find who's the theater critic in town, who writes theater articles. Call them up, shoot them an email. Say, hey, I just read your article on such and such. I loved it. I'm doing shows here locally. I'd love to have a coffee with you and just talk. And reach out to people like this. They'll be interested in having these conversations with you. For one, magic is interesting in and of itself. Like, that's an interesting thing. 2, people like making connections. And so if you can connect with people like this and start building these relationships. So what kind of articles are you looking to write about? Can I help you with anything? If you can become a resource for them, hey, I saw this interesting thing, you might want to write about it. When you become a resource and you're doing shows, they'll want to write about you. So build relationships, become friends with them, and send a press release to everybody in the media. Now, we've got 2 episodes on this, Gloria Shandstrom and RJ Lynch. Now, in Gloria Shandstrom's episode, she goes step by step on how you write a press release from beginning to end. How do you make it interesting? How do you send it out to people? Now, Gloria is actually great at sending out press releases as well as writing them. So here in town, if I need a press release sent out to everybody, I can do 2 things. I can A, go to every single media outlet, gather all of those email addresses, figure out who my contacts are, and build a database of everybody in the media. When I was in Oklahoma City, this is what I did. I actually worked with a buddy of mine who actually wrote for the paper. He had a huge database. I started building a database, and we would just basically share notes every 6 months or so. I'd say, hey, I had to update these people. How's your list doing? Oh, I updated these people. We basically share a database of all of these people in the press. If you don't want to do that, you could hire somebody like Gloria. For $75, I send her my release, and she spits it out to everybody in Denver with my release. And people know her, and so we get a lot of press. Our Magic Club uses her. I use her. A lot of people in town use her to get those press releases out and to get them published. So if you have an option like that, like Gloria, then do that. If not, then you're going to spend a week building your database. But once you have that database, you're up and running. You're going to send that email to everybody with your release on it. Now, also, RJ Lynch, this was a great episode, and it's actually pretty heartwarming. He knew nothing about marketing shows. He knew nothing about producing shows. He listened to our podcast, and now he's running successful shows every month, based on everything that he's learned from our podcast. But he's got some great examples. In the last few months, he wrote 12 press releases, and they were all published. And I think that's quite a feat. He's only 21 years old. He's in college, and he's able to get published. He's on the news. He's on TV. He's in the papers. He's selling out shows. And if he can do this, then I'm sure that you guys can too. So this is just kind of like a success story, this episode is, and he tells you what he's learned along the way, as well as gives you those excellent press releases that he's sent out. Now, group sales. Why is this on the first page? Because I really think that group sales are an ideal way to quickly sell out your show. People are kind of afraid of group sales. What are group sales? I'm not sure how they work. This is how this works. Let's say you're doing a show and you've got a company across the street. You say, oh, well, you're right next door to us. You can do this two ways. You can either A, call them up, go to them and say, I'd love for you to give tickets to your employees. Can you buy 10 tickets at a discount? And maybe that discount is 10% or 20%, whatever you agree upon. But you're going to run a small discount for them to buy in bulk. Now, what are they doing with these tickets? Well, they're either going to give them to their employees, or maybe people that come to the store and buy a lot from them. Maybe they're going to give them as gifts to those people. So that's the first way. You call them up and you try to do a group sale, and you just call up businesses and you say, I've got this awesome show. I'd love for you to give some to your employees. Can you buy 10 of them at this price? Now, the other way is to work group sales in with sponsorships. And we'll talk about this here in a few minutes, but sponsorships, you can sell advertisement space. With WellAttended, you can sell space at the bottom of your tickets. And you can call up a company and say, hey, I'd love for you to be a sponsor. If you pay X amount of dollars, you'll also get 10 tickets with your sponsorship. So you just work that ticket price in with your group sale. But now you've immediately sold 10 tickets to your show through this sponsorship deal. And so this is another way to work it in. So if you've got a 50-seat house and you can immediately sell 10 tickets, you're doing quite well. And if you can sell several group sales, you're going to sell out pretty quickly because these are all done in bulk. Instead of having to work on one person at a time, you can just sell out all at once. And so if you can do these, don't be shy. Pick up the phone, ask for the person in charge of maybe meetings, HR. You're going to have to find, it's different with every company, find the person that is in charge of that, and then talk to them. And you can even say on the phone when you get the receptionist, yeah, I'm looking for somebody that's in charge of your marketing. Could I talk to that person? And then if the marketing person, oh no, I'm not in charge of this, that's Sue who's over in HR, then she'll transfer you over. People are generally nice. They're not going to, probably won't hang up on you. And if they do, it's not the end of the world because you're trying to make sales. You're trying to get people to your shows. That's what you have to think about. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone, walk into businesses, start building relationships. Let's go to the next one. So print marketing with Tom Britton. You can see here episode 70, 71, and 72. I was right. Episode 71, how to use print marketing to sell tickets. 71, how to use print marketing in social media and beyond. And finally, 72, how to use print marketing as merchandise and back of room sales. And episode 72 is really where you take all this print marketing that you've made and you turn it into merchandise. And then we have Shauna butchering her name here, Shauna Branch. And she talks about how she uses teaser postcards and puts them out all throughout town to get people to come to her shows. But here's just some examples of some print marketing that I've done. So over here on the left, this is, like I said, one of my first shows. I'm very creative with my name here, Reading Minds. I immediately wanted people to know what my show is about. Here we have the Rocky Mountain session. Not fancy design. This was a postcard. When I go to conventions, I hand these cards out. We've got a poster of myself here that I designed for specific reasons. And this was at the West End Theater. And we've got a cool design here. People see that, they immediately know it's me. So here's just some different examples of some posters that I've used. And you can see that these are very simple. They're very clean. I can very easily, on this poster on the right here, if I just take out this West End Theater, I could sell that right as it is. I think it's nice art. Remove the location. I can sell that poster. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Here's another updated poster of myself. Once again, very clean. I wanted to get the message across. An enchanted evening. Right below it, well, what is an enchanted evening? Oh, it's mind reading and mystery. Since I'm a mentalist, I don't want to put magic in there. It's mind reading and mystery. Oh, what is that? That's interesting. And then date, time, etc. Now, this works as a double for me because I can now take this poster And we talk about this in episode 71 with Tom Britton, how you can take your poster and make that for social media. So let's go over to this social media here slide. So here we've got social media. Now, social media is a great way for you to get people to come to your shows. Now, people make the mistake, though, of solely relying on social media. Oh, yeah, I built up a Facebook event. I'm going to have tons of people to my show. No, you're not. Just pushing it on Facebook, just creating an event, that is not marketing, as we've seen from the other two. And actually, this is I kind of skipped over this a little bit. Let's go back to this print marketing thing for a minute. Because once you have your posters, what do you do with them? Well, you're going to go to every single business that's around you. You're going to take those posters and you're going to hang them up in the windows of all of the stores. You're going to go and, hey, I'm doing a show right down the street. Do you mind if I hang my poster here? And they say, what? You're doing a show? You're a magician? That's cool. Yeah, please put it in the window. You put it in the window and you say, yeah, I'd love to see you at the show. And in fact, since you let me put my poster here, I'll give you 15% off. You just use this code. Just don't tell anybody. It's only for you because you're helping me out here. Right? So you're building this buzz. You're building this partnership with them. Maybe even give them tickets. Tom talks about this on his episode. He loves giving tickets to Uber drivers, to people that work in hair salons, because they talk to people. He says, come see my show. It's on me. And then who are they going to talk to about it? Well, when they're giving haircuts, they're going to talk to their patrons about your show. So I'm not anything against giving tickets away if they're also helping you by putting posters up. That postcard, you could take your postcards. I've done this. Go around to the Target parking lot or the Hobby Lobby parking lot and flyer people's cars. Nobody does this anymore. And I've gotten kicked out of a few parking lots, that's for sure. But what are they going to do? Oh, you can't do this here. Can you please leave? That's it. Like, you don't get in trouble. You don't get arrested. They'll just kick you out of the parking lot. But it was fascinating to me, the show actually in this art gallery. I went and flyed the Target parking lot like twice, and my show sold out because of that Target parking lot. Because that's 200, 300 cars right there. And they're like, what? This is going on next week or on Friday? Well, that's cool. I'm going to go see that. Show sold out just because I fired a Target parking lot and a Hobby Lobby parking lot. And I got kicked out of both of them. But you do what you have to do to sell tickets. So you've got all this print marketing. Back to social media. We've got some great episodes here for you. Episode 43 and 33. Tom Britton again here using Facebook Live. But once you have your poster, you want to be able to take that material and then convert it to Facebook or to Instagram or to Twitter. You can see right here, this is the bottom of that poster with the information. This is now a Facebook cover photo. So I can throw that up on my Facebook event very easily, and people can see immediately the location, my website, how to find me on Twitter, and what the show's about. And so whenever you build your print marketing, just think along the lines of, how can I also use this in social media and take that and try to also kind of kill two birds with one stone. How can you repurpose this material for other things? And then, I guess, three birds with one stone. How can I also sell this stuff to make more money off the back end? And so I'm not going to touch too much on social media. I will say, though, that if you can, use the Facebook tracking pixel, because that's really going to help you determine where your ad spend is going. If people are going to your website, if they're going to WellAttended or wherever you're selling tickets, to see if those Facebook ads are working, look into the Facebook tracking pixel and use that if you can. Okay, next. Now, these two things are awesome ideas. Your newsletter. So as I started to build up my newsletter, I could sell out a third of my seats with just sending a few emails. So if the venue is selling 50 seats and I send out an email and I'm selling a third of the seats that I need to sell, I'm getting close to having a good sold out show. Now I let that other marketing take over, being on the news, being in the public, and sell that other half. Now, of course, the newsletter doesn't always sell that. Sometimes the venue doesn't always sell the tickets that I think they should be selling. And so that's why you need to kind of reach out in all of these different areas to start to promote your show. So with your newsletter here, we use MailChimp. We've got two excellent episodes on how you can start building your newsletter. If you work restaurants, if you go to meetups, if you are a member of the Chamber of Commerce, go to these places, show people a trick and say, oh, by the way, I've got a newsletter. I'm about to start a show. I think that'll start in the next few months. Do you mind if I put you on my newsletter and so I can tell you when that happens? 9 times out of 10, people will be like, yeah, that sounds cool. I like that trick you just did. Put me on your mailing list. And you can give them your phone. There's a great app on MailChimp, Constant Contact. A lot of these have apps. You just give them your phone and say, oh, just type in your email and you'll be right on my list. And slowly build out your list this way. You meet all of these people face to face. They're on your list. They already like what you do. When you do a show, there's an audience. Rack cards and resellers. Now, I personally do not use these, but Matt Marbury does. He's had great experience. He's in more of a tourist town. So if you ever go to a tourist area and you go to the hotel, the first thing you see is all of these cards with what's going on in the area. So you can buy these cards, work with a distributor that will distribute them to all of the hotels in the area. And the other thing is resellers. If you're in a tourist area, let's say you've got somebody that rents helicopter rides, or they rent four-wheelers, right, to go out into the desert or something and maybe skydiving, right? Work with these people and say, hey, can we create a package deal where you can sell a skydiving lesson and you can sell a ticket to my show because I'm just right down the street from you. Can you just sell those for me together? And so this is once again forming those partnerships. And I'll talk about your parachuting over at your skydiving over at my show. Oh yeah, we'll be happy to help you sell tickets. So form these relationships once again with the businesses around you. Next. Publicity stunts. I love this. So this isn't me. This is Joe Diamond. You can see him in the front seat there, blindfolded. Joe has gotten tons of great publicity doing publicity stunts. And you can see this on episode 6, creative marketing strategies. You can see he's got quite the crowd here. You've got somebody videoing and you've got a cameraman. So probably the news station, probably the paper. They're all watching him do the blindfold drive. And he's got a crowd here. I wonder how many of these people then turn into ticket buyers to a show. I bet you quite a few of them if they weren't already. So you can see here, just by doing this publicity stunt, he's got a lot of people there excited about what he's doing. And you can actually see Joe's blindfold drive. Whenever you download this file from our site, this is actually a link. You can click it and it'll take you right to the Facebook video of his latest blindfold drive. So you can actually see how he does this in real time. So if you want to do something similar, you can see how it all plays out. He's in the car, he's got the news people beside him. So if you're ever thinking about something like this is a great resource just so you can see how it's done and done well. And I know that he's sold a lot of tickets from this blindfold drive that he just recently did. And he got a lot of feedback, a lot of people talking about, oh, you shouldn't do this. Oh, you should do this. Our kids are going to try this. Right? Just lots of people talking. And as they say, good publicity, any publicity is good publicity, right, John?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then finally, just touching on this on the bottom, if you have a huge budget, direct mail marketing is something you might want to look into. The United States Postal Service, they do this really cool thing where you just give them the zip code and you say, I want this postcard sent out to everybody in this zip code. And pricing will vary depending on the size of the people in that zip code. But you can say, I want this to go out and this mile radius around my theater, send this postcard out. They'll give you a price. They'll do bulk mailing for you. You don't need to know the addresses. You don't need to know the people. You can just give it to them and they'll mail it out for you. So if you do have a large budget, this is something you might want to look into. And this is a great episode with Laurie where she talks about this. So let's open this up to questions. I know that we've covered a lot here in this presentation, but really I just wanted to give you a kind of base overview of things that you should do, and then go back, listen to those podcast episodes, because we really do go in very good detail about how to do those.
Those podcasts are really well done too. So I started when preparing and listening to it. I mean, you have how many 70 some episodes, 77?
76 now, maybe
76. And it's like all like top quality. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. So that's really, really cool. And we don't have a lot of questions at the moment, but we've got a lot of
I think it's a lot to internalize, right? I went through a lot of things.
I know. One of the big things, and Jonathan wrote this, and I totally agree, was the Uber driver, like the hairstylist, those people that we don't think about connecting to that really could spread what we're trying to do. So some really good stuff.
Thank Tom for that.
Oh, well, Tom is saying that you're killing it in a good way. Arlie Davis is saying it's going awesome as well.
Cool.
Stay there, Davis. There's more.
Yeah, I think we're into our last section here in a minute. So
yeah.
So did you have any questions, John?
Oh my gosh, so many. Where to begin? Well, I know that I signed up at WellAttended, and like you said, there's just a lot of information that is swirling around my head about different potential things that I could do. I noticed also in the publicity, the blindfold drive, even the car that he chose was something special. Like, there's so many intentional aspects to what seems to not necessarily be intentional. So how many of those things, as you plan things, whether it's through advertisement, whether it's through venue, like how closely are you pinpointing all the micro details that many people don't recognize?
What do you mean by that?
There's just so much. I think maybe I'm just rambling and pointing out that there's so much intentionability in everything that is done, whether it's finding the venue, the population that you're targeting, your audience that you're targeting, how you're targeting them, the tools that you use to target them. It's just, yeah.
So like I said, this is like an overview. So there's a lot to digest, but you really have to take this step at a time, because if you look at it kind of like what I'm giving you now, you are going to be overwhelmed. Oh. So your first step is, do I have a show? Oh, I do. Okay. Well, now I need to find a venue. Oh, I found a venue. Okay. Well, now I need to get people to my show. Now what? So this is, over time, you're going to learn what works, what doesn't work for you. And you're going to learn probably a lot of tricks that I don't even know yet. But it's really about taking it a step at a time. And really, if you're there to promote a show, do print marketing, send out press releases, find people that you already know, get an opener, and start easy. And then you can start going into your group sales. You can start doing, adding some of these to your marketing mix, but really start off with the basics, the things that work, and then play around with it.
As everybody was witnessing my brain essentially being the Three Stooges trying to all go through the door at one time. We did actually get some questions.
And I've actually got some too here, if you don't mind. I'm just going to pop over to, because I think these were sent a little bit ago. Mr. Eddie Wood said, can a magician use out-of-the-box tricks and still have a good show? And I think that is a good question, because a lot of people don't have their own original material. So what do? Well, like anybody, you have to build a show kind of from the ground up. And so a lot of people do buy those tricks and then they work on the presentation. And I think that is a great way to start. Now, I emphasis on start, because we all have to start somewhere. If you go buy tricks, you start doing your show, that's fantastic. But you want to continue progressing from there. Maybe you find a good joke that works. Well, now it's starting to become your own. Maybe you find something else that works. Maybe you find a different ending. Maybe you want to switch around the phases. Well, when you do all of these, this is slowly becoming your own routine. I do a trick called Sneak Thief, and over 5 years, this has gone from Larry Becker's original to now completely different. The same effect is still there, but I'm doing it completely different than how it was originally in print. And now I feel like that is my own thing. But it started with an idea with somebody's routine, and then I went from there. So that's a great question. Black Flag Theater Company, they actually have a great point here. As a theatrical venue that books magicians, I can tell you the biggest problem is finding magicians with a show. Then finding one with a 90-minute show is almost impossible. And that's right. And I think right here, this is why you need to let me try to talk here. Why you need to start producing your own shows, because this will get you the stage time for you to work on material, start building it out. So when somebody like Black Flag Theater Company says, hey, I want to book you for my theater. Oh yeah, I've got an hour and a half because I've been doing hour shows every single month for the past year. I've got a show now. I've got people that enjoy it. Yeah, I can send you a video of it and I can get booked. And so once again, do this yourself. There's nobody going to hold your hand and walk you through these steps. You either have to do it yourself or it's not going to get done. So Rick Finbow, he said, he's a client of ours, Psychic Rick. He says his VIP tickets sell out first and they sell out fast. Dale Sanders, he's a client of ours. He's doing a show down in Dallas once a month. He says he's one of the good guys and he's got great information. Hey, thanks for joining us here, Dal. Okay, back over to you, John. What questions do you have for us?
Oh, yeah, Dal's singing your praises in this chat room, too. Let's see. Any advice for getting on the radio?
Radio is interesting because you can't see anything. right? And so first of all, you have to come up with routines that can be done without being visual. And Joe Diamond, once again, I'm going to push it back to him. He's on the radio all the time. He's got some great ideas. I've been on a few times. I think I've got a podcast episode somewhere floating around that you can listen to. But once again, it's sending that press release, pitching them an idea, maybe meeting up with them, and then getting on the show. And also, speaking of promoting, a lot of times you can work out partnerships with radio stations where they're always trying to push stuff. They're trying to get listeners. So you might say, I want to give you 10 tickets to give away over the course of 4 days, maybe 2 tickets every other hour, or 2 tickets every day. You can just give them out on your station. Also, I'd love to be on as a guest. And so once again, it's about this partnership. Now you're giving them something. They're promoting your show. It's not costing you anything. They're giving something away to their listeners. Maybe you can come on and talk about your show, give an example. So once again, it's about this partnership. How can you help them? And then in return, what can they give back to you? But it's always about how can I help you? I'll be a great guest. I'll do readings on air. I'll do a trick on air that'll blow your audience out of the, blow their minds. And also I'll give you free tickets to my show if they listen to your morning show at 7 a.m. when people are going to work. Like, that sounds like a good pitch to me. So try it, see what happens.
Any ways to get schools to email their entire list?
So I don't work with schools per se, but I think that might be a tough nut to crack.
Right.
The only way that I could see it working is if it was benefiting the school in some way. It might have to be at the school. So you come in and do a show at the school for an assembly or for something. Then they're going to send their whole list. But you're really going to have to be in bed, I guess, with that school in order for them to do that, just because of all the privacy laws.
And one last one, Joe was curious, have you ever needed to use an agent for special occasions or special venues?
So I work with agents, but I've never worked with an agent to produce a show. And because the type of venues that I'm going for are not like the Lincoln Center or the Pepsi Center, these big, huge things where you probably need an agent to be able to play there. I'm working mom and pop establishments. And if I can show them that I've got a good, solid show and that people enjoy my show, I send them a video. I show them, my release, my material, my writer. They know who I am. They see my video. You can get booked. So I would say you probably don't need an agent to work the type of venues and the type of places that I'm working.
Gotcha. Well, I'll bring the slides back up, sir.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, and if you have any other questions as we go along here, like I said, this is a lot to take in, but we will give you a link to download these slides at the end. That way you can just go to town with, researching and just learning as much as you can about these topics at hand. So let's get right into it. This is where the rubber hits the road. Again, I'm using this sentence a lot tonight. How do you manage everything? How do you manage your box office? How do you get people to come to your show? How do you sell tickets? This is kind of where my specialty is, and we're going to talk about it right now. So the fun begins. It's time to start selling tickets. How can you do this? Now, there's 3 major ways. That's online, over the phone, and at the box office. Now, my preferred method, of course, is online because I don't have to do any work. I set it up once, I forget about it, and then orders just come in. It's showtime. I show up. I've got an attendee list. I check people in as they arrive, and it's done. It's really not a lot of hassle there. Now, over the phone, you're spending time taking the orders. At the box office, you've got lines forming of you taking orders, and now you're trying to capture their information at the same time so you can build your database. So I try to really funnel everything to online. That way it works, I think, the best. Go ahead and go to the next slide here, because this is really 7 reasons why you should sell online if you haven't thought about it. 1, it's going to save you time. Like I said, you set it up, you forget about it, people buy, you don't have to worry. They come to the show, and you're done. You've got a predictable attendance. If you're just doing cash at the door, well, how many people am I going to have show up? Am I going to have 5? Am I going to have 10? Am I going to be sold out? You don't know. And why it's important, whether you know or not, let's say you're 3 days out and you've only sold 10 tickets out of that 50-seat house. Oh man, I better start pushing this hard because I need people to show up. So I know I need to start marketing. You can have a cash flow. We use a credit card processor called Stripe. So the moment a ticket is sold beforehand, you can get your money right then. So if you need to pay an opener, if you need to pay for alcohol that you're going to then sell, you can have this money up front so you're not having to eat into your savings. It's a better customer experience. People can order whenever they want. They don't have to talk to you. They don't have to wait in a line. People remember how easy it was to buy tickets. It might not be the main selling point, but people remember, oh, that was a smooth process, and they'll buy again. You can motivate customers with incentives. So you can give discount codes that they can use online. You can sell t-shirts that are only available if you buy online. You can motivate these people. You get your customer data collection. With WellAttended, you get first name, last name, email address, a phone number if you require it, a physical mailing address. You build your database. Now you can market to these people in the future for your corporate events, for whatever other shows that you're doing. And then finally, it's going to help you just increase your future ticket sales. And this is done in a majority of different ways, a lot of different ways here. The first way is if your show is selling out, people are going to go to buy tickets, and they're going to say, whoa, this show is already sold out. I better buy tickets to the next show, right? So it kind of helps push people to buy. They're going to, once again, remember how easy it was to buy tickets. So it was so easy. I could just go in and buy. There was no, what is the word? I didn't have to swim upstream. It was just easy process to get in and go to the show. And when I showed up, they had my name and I was able to get right in. There was no hassle. I didn't even have to print off my tickets. I don't have a printer. I didn't even have to do that. That was nice, right? So it's going to just help you shine and help your show shine. That's hard to say.
We haven't let poor William have a drink of water. We've been just like, tell us more, man.
Starting to get tongue-tied here.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so how does WellAttended fit into this equation? Well, we're really giving you the tools that you need all in one place so that your shows can be successful and that you can make more money and increase your ticket sales. So you can see here at the bottom, you can sell merchandise at checkout. You can sell advertisement space. We've got abandoned cart emails. So if somebody doesn't check out, the next day we're going to send them an email saying, hey, you need to go back to your cart and buy tickets. If they don't, you'll actually see leads in your dashboard of people that abandon their carts. So you can go and call them up and say, hey, I saw you were interested in coming to the show. Why didn't you show? Do you have questions? We'd love for you to be here. We've got Facebook tracking pixels so you can track your ad spends. Social media sharing. We've got weekly email promotions. If you're in certain areas, we'll start sending out emails for you with our other clients and help you promote your shows to a new audience. So we're really trying to work as hard as we can to help you be successful here. Let's go ahead and go to the next one here. So I'm actually going to pop in. So the takeaway of this is online ticketing is an excellent tool to increase your following and your ticket sales. So I'm going to pop over to a client's page here that we probably all know. I'm sure we all know him. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Let me pop over and let me find it. Here we go. So we are going to go over to Paul Gertner. So this is Paul Gertner's website. He uses WellAttended to sell tickets. So let me just show you how all of this fits together. You've got your venue, you've worked out the deal, you've got your tickets selling. You've got your tickets ready to be sold. What do? Well, first you're going to build a website. So here's Paul Gertner's website. I think this is a great website, by the way. Very big logo, nice button right here to buy tickets. You scroll down. He's got show, questions about the show, about Paul. You can learn more about him. You continue scrolling here, a huge buy tickets link again, and he even tells you these are the show times, so you don't have to guess. His awesome video with him on Penn and Teller Fool Us when he fooled them. And once again, click here to buy tickets. And then he's got a mailing list sign up right here as well. So I think this is just a well-designed site, but let's go ahead and buy tickets. So if we click here for tickets, this is going to take us directly over to WellAttended. And you can see here on WellAttended, he's got his logo up here at the top. He can upload an image. This is him at the castle. Information about his show. Now, as we scroll down, here's a calendar of his upcoming shows. And you can see right here, this 27th is grayed out. This is sold out. I can't buy tickets to this. If I scroll down more, he's got other dates available, some images, and some more video and information about his show. So this is actually WellAttended to buy tickets. So if I click on this, it actually sold out. I can't buy tickets to this show, which is pretty awesome. So let's buy tickets to the 20th. So if I go VIP, see he's doing the VIP thing at $60, and he only has 3 tickets left. He's got general admission at $45, and he has still a few left here. But you can see this VIP is already selling quickly. People want this, and it's what, 15? Is that, I can't do math, $15 more?
$15 more.
So you can see he's making $15 more just for front row seats. It includes the front row literally at the table. You'll experience the magic as close as possible, selecting cards and becoming part of the interactive show. So right here, $15 more for that VIP experience, and he's almost sold out of those tickets. General admission, $45. Let's just put 2 general admission into the cart here. And now we've got a required question. How did you hear about the show? You would type something in here, and then you would check out. So I'm not going to actually check out on his page, but I'm going to pop over to a fake, like a demo account here. So this would be the home page. So let's just go to the Taming of Judge Roy Bean and actually show you what a buying process would look like. So you can upload an image. We'll just go to the show on the 19th. You can see here we've got VIP. You can label these tickets, by the way, to anything you want to name them. We just have these as an example set up. You can have your ticket price be whatever you want. We'll just put 2 general admission into the cart. And this is where the fun starts. Optional charge. Do you want to add anything to your order? So we were talking about back of the room sales at the beginning. Well, how about like before the show even starts sales? So here we have a t-shirt of the production. I can go right here and I can buy a t-shirt before the show ever starts. Now, if I don't buy this t-shirt, at least I know, oh, he's got t-shirts for sale. I should probably bring $15 so I can buy them at the end of the show. And Tom was, using this, and he said, oh, I don't think anybody's gonna buy this. They don't know me. They don't know my show. He said 25% of his audience bought stuff before his show ever started. And then when they showed up, he handed them his goodie bag, and the husband or wife said, oh, that's cool. I want one too. And he made another sell. Just because he's selling stuff before the show. This stuff really works. So let's just add this here. How did you hear about the show? Now, this question can be anything at all. We'll just say we heard this from Tom Britton because he's awesome. Britton, I can't spell his name. There we go. Brittoon. You're now Tom Brittoon. Okay, save. So now we go here, and now we can put a promo code if we have one, and we can check out. So once you click checkout, Stripe pops up, and then that's how you get your money the moment this ticket is sold. So you can see here, you would make $75, and that money would go directly to your bank. Our processing fee for this would be $7.16. This includes the well-attended fee and the credit card processing fee. So we try to keep this as low as possible for you. So let's pop over. Let's say we just bought the tickets. Here are the tickets right here. This is what the patron sees after they bought their ticket. So like I said, we try to work for you here. We have right here, they can print it out or they can share this event. If I click this, this actually opens a pre-populated window that says, I just bought tickets to the Taming of Judge Roy Bean. You can join me by getting tickets at, and then a link to your site. So people can quickly share this event and try to get more people to come to your show. Here on the tickets themselves, if let's say I've got a party of 2 and we're coming at different times, I can actually change the name on this ticket to like Tom Britton. I can put his email address right here and click save, and this ticket will be sent to Tom. And this will update on your attendee list. But you know what else you just did? You just got Tom's email that you can now market to later. And that's huge. So you can start building your database with people that didn't even buy tickets. And out here at the bottom, this is where you can sell that advertisement space. So like I said, if you're working a restaurant and you're working in the back of the room, you can say, oh, I've got this great spot on the bottom of all of my tickets. We can sell your dessert at the end of the show. So let's say, this ad could say, we have the most awesome dessert in all of Denver. Click here to learn more. They click this link, it's going to open their dessert menu, right? So you can start forming these partnerships with the people that you're working with to now sell this sponsorship space, or the sponsorship space that's worth a lot of money. You can now give in return for something, maybe the space, maybe for whatever it is that you want in return. So this is just a great way to make more money from the shows that you're already doing. Do you have any questions about this, John?
No, this is awesome.
Okay.
I'm just
good.
absorbing it in like a sponge.
I'm kind of going fast here, but you will get the replay to this, so you can rewatch this if you have any questions as we're going through. So this is the one question too that everybody always asks. Well, how do I manage all of my events? That has to be hard to do. It's actually quite easy. So we're in the well-attended dashboard, which is where you manage everything that has to do with your shows. So we would go to events, and to add the event, we would go new event. I just refreshed it here. Just a minute. Sorry about that. You would just click new event. We're just going to edit here. And it's very straightforward. You're going to put your event name, what your capacity is, your short description, a full description, and if you want to customize the confirmation email, you can send this right here. And this will just be at the top of your tickets. So like parking is across the street. So any last minute advice you can put here and it will show up. This is pretty self-explanatory. You add in your dates and times. For your ticket options, you would say, I want to build ticket options for these 6 shows. And I want to call this, what's a good name for a ticket? Special tickets, right? Call it whatever you want. Add in a ticket note. You can say your ticket price is $100. Your sales cutoff is the same time as the event. You're going to click add, and it pops right over to this page. And now this is live on your site, and you can start selling these tickets. And this is actually, if we go over here, this is what these are. So we built this out on our ticket options. These ticket options are what I just created right here. Custom checkout, this is where you can do those like optional charges where you can sell t-shirts, build out promo codes, build out a questionnaire so you can figure out how people found out about you or whatever question you want to ask. And then you can add that advertisement image. So once again, very straightforward in how all of this works. Here's the link that you would share on Facebook to get people to come. Or if you already have a website, you would link to this event for people to buy tickets. And then you can add images as well and create a gallery down here at the bottom. So let's get into the real fun, and that is your attendee list, because this is also a question we always get. Well, how do I know who's coming? How do I check people in? Well, here's a list of every single show with all of your attendees and how many tickets you have available to sell. So if I just click this, you can very quickly see, oh, my VIP package, I haven't sold any. But general admission, I've sold 17 out of 48, and student, I've got 2 out of 33 sold. So I need to work to sell more tickets to this one. But on this one, I'm almost sold out, as you can see. So if I click view, this is where your attendee list is. And this is where once people come to your show, you're going to have this list on your phone, on your iPad. You can print off this list if you want to, but why? Because as people come in, you can say, oh, George, you're here, party of 2. Awesome. Now you've checked them in. And this is easy enough for if you do have a friend that's working your door. And Micah, bless his heart, my partner, he actually worked the door for me in a lot of my shows. So my developer, our developer here that develops all of this, he's actually worked shows with me. So he knows how all of this works. So let's say Mitch is here. We check in Mitch. Chad's here. We check in Chad. So now we've got 8 out of 30 people checked in. And if you mess up, it just bumps them to the bottom so you can undo them. Pretty easy. But this helps you because if, let's say, you've only have 6 out of 37 people coming and your show's about to start, you're like, whoa, we need to hold the show another 5 minutes because for some reason people are stuck in traffic. So this lets you know that. Now, let's say somebody did buy something. So I bought something. It gives you this little cart. So like, oh, William bought some stuff. I need to give him something as he arrives. I can click on this, or I can just click on view here and I can see, oh, he bought a signed poster and he spent $10 on it. Awesome. And I can also see, oh, here are his tickets right here. Now, let's say that for some reason, Bob, or I guess William in this case, he can't come to this show. I can say, well, I can't come to the show on Friday. Can you instead come to the show on the 19th? And he goes, yeah, I can do that. So now we just switched his tickets over to the show on the 19th. So this is very easy if you're doing shows every month or shows every week. If somebody can't come to a show, don't give them a refund. Instead, just move their ticket over to the next show. Say, oh, no problem. You can come next month. Now you still have their money. And that's important. You never want to give people back their money after they've paid. So this just makes it easy for you to just switch them to a different time. And then finally, if you do want to do sales at the door or over the phone, you can just click that new order button. You can build out your show right here. You can type in your patron's first name, last name, email. Let's just say it's Matt something. We've got Matt Hudson here already in the system. So I click this, and now I can very easily take a credit card, take cash, or let's say Matt, he owns a radio station. I want him to come see my show for free. I can comp this order and just send him a ticket. And he's going to now show up in your attendee list. So you're not having to keep separate lists of, okay, these people bought tickets. These people are my comps. These people are my friends that I want on my show, but they're only going to have to pay half. Like you don't have to do that anymore. You can just do it all from the WellAttended dashboard, which just makes it super easy to manage because really you should be spending your time promoting your shows, not having to deal with all this stuff. And then reports area. Remember when I said abandoned carts, if people leave their carts, you can click here and you can see that Larry 5 months ago, he didn't buy tickets. Why didn't he buy tickets? Well, I don't know. I can shoot him an email. Larry, why didn't you buy tickets? We'd love to see you at the show. Oh, I didn't know if the show was all age appropriate. Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, well, that tells me I need to work on my marketing and let people know that it's all ages friendly. And now Larry's going to come to a show because his 12-year-old wanted to see it. We've just sold a ticket that would not have been sold otherwise. Mm-hmm. And then completed orders, this is where we break down all of the orders. You can refund right here from the dashboard. You can resend the confirmation email. You can see what these tickets are if you're interested in seeing that. And then you can see your sales total, which is the sum of every single show that you've done and how we've come to this price. So you can click here and you can see these were coupon codes that were used. These were cash and check orders. And this is how we get to your total. So it's very straightforward on how all of this kind of fits together and all of this works. Do we have any questions before I go on here about any of this process of, getting people to a website to then buy tickets?
One major question we have is WellAttended, is that available in Canada, and like where all can you utilize this?
So currently this is only available in the United States. We are working on having this become available in Canada and throughout the world. If you are in Canada, just sign up for an account and then just shoot me an email saying, hey, I'm in Canada. And we actually have a list of people that are in Canada. And so we're kind of building that out. And when we get to a certain number, we'll allow the Canadian dollars to be accepted. It's a bit of a, we've got to do some work on our back end to allow that to happen. But we are building a database right now of people that want to use it in Canada. So the more people in Canada that say, hey, we want to use your software, the quicker that we'll probably be able to roll this out.
You heard him, Mr. Davis. Make sure that you sign up.
And this is the same way, whether you're Paul Gertner and you're running this show. Here's an example with my own site, the Rocky Mountain Session. So here we have the lectures that we have so far coming up. If I want to register, I click this register button. So I've made it in a prime location. You click this. Now this is immediately going to go to the Rocky Mountain Session site. So here's that postcard I had earlier. Remember, I'm double using. I had my postcard. Now this is also on the internet. And then I can order now. And this goes right to the WellAttended ticketing so that people can register for this convention. So it's very, very straightforward. And you can see how this process is pretty seamless from a website to then buy tickets. And we think that's really important. Let's go back to, I've got to find where I am here in the room. Oh, here I am. Getting lost in my own thing. So I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay, yeah, so back to the takeaway. So let's just go ahead and open this up to some questions. I'm going to check the other rooms here. Sure. So Dal just said on YouTube, he says, our venue has a lot of walk-up business, and he's trying to get people used to online. And he really misses gathering contact information from those walk-ups. Actually, Dal, this is a scenario that a lot of people run into is you do have a lot of people doing door traffic, especially if you're in an area with a lot of foot traffic. And so there's two things you can do, a few things actually, but two main things. The first thing is when they walk up to the door, say, hey, did you know that it's $25 if you buy at the door, but if you buy online, it's $20. So you'll save $5. So go ahead and just bring out your phone right now and buy the tickets online. So then they can take out their credit card, they can buy right there on their phone, and now you are collecting all of that data that you need. So that's one way you can do it. The second way is, and I kind of mentioned this, make your door price more than your online price. Because once again, if your door price is more expensive, you're going to make more money. Two, it's going to push people towards the online purchases. So that's kind of two ways that you can kind of handle that. But once again, it's more of the training of, hey, we have online ticketing. Once you build your mailing list, start pushing those shows, and it will take time to kind of convert those over. We did have a lady, Carol Given, actually. She was doing all phone orders. Everything that she was doing was on the phone. And she said sometimes she would be talking with the people for 30 or 45 minutes just to sell some tickets. And she said, well, she likes talking to people. She likes knowing her patrons. But, think about that. If you've got a 75-seat house and you're talking to every single one of those patrons for 30, 45 minutes each, that's a lot of time in your day. That's just gone talking to people. So she started working with WellAttended there in Castle Rock, and it took them many months for them to train their people to go online and buy. And so, like I said, this is just something that's going to take time, but you'll eventually get there. So any other questions there, John?
Sorry, I got sucked into something else.
Oh, no problem.
Let's see. Yeah, sorry, everybody. It's getting close to bedtime for kids, so dad do double duty. I do want to point. This has been awesome. I'm getting text messages from doctors Literally, a physician just messaged and said, "This is a wonderful lecture."
Oh, awesome. Good, good.
Yeah, man. So to answer your question, no, I don't have a question right now.
So I actually do see some questions here. Jonathan's got one. He says, speaking of overwhelmed, any ideas for helping outsourcing your marketing, planning, or your follow through? And so this is the problem when it becomes to producing shows. There's nobody that's going to produce your show and promote your show as well as you do. It's your baby, right? So I'd say in the beginning, work and take time to learn how to do all of this. And then later on, this is when you can hire someone or find someone that might do a good job helping you. But if you don't know what you're doing and you say, hey, can you promote my show with me? You don't know if they're going to do a good job or not. But if you have this experience and you kind of know how all of this works, you can just say, I want you to do this, 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 and this. Do you do those things? Now you know what works. You know what to talk about. And so I always suggest trying it yourself first, and then find a friend, find somebody, a company that can work with you. But once again, if you're starting to pay people to do this stuff, now your cost of production goes higher. So your $25 tickets might now have to be $50 tickets to pay for whatever service you're using. Like when I pay Gloria, I've got to account for that $75 in my ticket price so I can still make the money that I want to make. So ask people, find people that are producing shows, maybe a theater, maybe other magicians in your area, maybe jugglers. Find who's producing shows and ask them, do you work with anybody to help you produce this, to help you promote this? And see if they are, because every section of the country is going to have different people, and you really need to find those people that are local that are going to really be able to help you out. I'm just going through the... here we have any work in dealings with backers of shows and touring groups. So I would go talk to Matt Marbury, go listen to his episodes because he does work with a lot of touring groups. He actually just opened a ghost tour in Branson, Missouri. And so he's got a lot of knowledge of working with touring groups, working with resellers. And so go listen to his episodes and then reach out to him if you have any questions. He's really a great guy. Let me just go through here. Oh, this is a great question. How far out from the date of the show do you start advertising? So I try to do at least a month out. And we've actually written a book. If you want to go to our website, it's wellattended.com/resources. And we wrote a book on the best times to start promoting your events. And we found most people don't even start buying until 3 days before. Like that's crunch time. That's when the majority of people buy. But a week out, people are buying. 2 weeks out, people are buying. 3 weeks out, people are buying. But you need to start usually at least 3 weeks out, because newspaper cutoff, their deadlines for print is 2 to 3 weeks out. And so you need to know 3-4 weeks out what you're doing. You need to know your location, your dates, times. You need to have your press releases so you can have time to send that to the paper and then follow up with them to make sure that they received it, so that then you can get in the press. So really, you're looking at about 3 to 4 weeks out is when you need to start really promoting that information for your show. So I'm just going to go through here and just make sure I've covered all of these questions here. Make sure there's nothing else of importance.
Somebody was, Jonathan, and you may have covered this. I apologize because I'm doing family stuff too. How do you print off physical tickets for your giveaway?
Okay. So that's a great question. So how do you print physical tickets to sell giveaway using WellAttended? Would there be a promo code or barcode for the ticket? So Jonathan, that's a great question. We've actually moved completely away from physical tickets. And there's a few reasons why. One of them is it's really hard to keep track of how many you've sold. So you don't know how many you need to sell, and what if you oversell? And so we've really moved away from that because it's just hard to keep track and hard to organize everything. There are some workarounds with this. So if you do want to give a group a promo code or something like that where you can track them, I'm not sure the reasoning why you want those physical tickets, but we have some groups that are, well, if you sell tickets, you'll get credit for a sale. You can say, use this promo code, and you can have this promo code not take anything off. So if you just want to give credit to the organization, say, hey, your promo code is, I can't even think of what's a organization maybe?
WellAttended.
Friends with Four Paws. That's an organization we work with. It was a place with, what do you call it? With dogs, where they... My brain is going.
Like a hound? Like a
pound. Yeah,
a
it's like a
pound?
pound. Friends with four paws. So let's say that you work with Friends with Four Paws and you say, hey, if you sell any tickets through your list, give everybody Friends with Four Paws. The promo code is 4 and then the word friends. Whoever uses that code to buy tickets, you'll get credit for that, and we'll give you 30% of whatever it is that you sell through your organization. Just make sure they use that promo code for friends. So now you can set up a promo code for them to use, kind of like an affiliate link, but not that complex. They can give out a promo code and then they can get credit for that purchase. Hopefully that answers your question, Jonathan. Like I said, a little bit of a workaround, but people are doing this and it works. Any questions? Any other questions here? I think that might be, oh, Tom Britton says the switching feature. So being able to switch people from like the 18th show to the 19th show. He says that's super handy. And people also mess up buying tickets. That's also true. They go, oh, I accidentally bought tickets to the 18th. I meant to the 19th. Can you switch those over? And instead of going, oh, hey, I've got to refund your tickets, go back and buy them, you can say, oh yeah, no problem. I'll just switch you over right now. So it actually helps. Once again, it's how can you make that easier for the patron? And you can use that feature to just make it easier so you don't have to refund and make them do extra work. Jonathan says, cool. Hopefully that answered your question there, Jonathan. Like I said, I'm not sure really the reasoning behind that question. All right, so let's continue here. I think we're about ready to wrap this up. Are we sharing? Present to everyone. Here we go. So if you do have questions, if you want to download that ebook on the best times to promote your events, or I also wrote a book on how to build an online following. And this really goes in detail about your online presence, how to build a website, how to use a pop-up to gather email addresses when they visit your site, how to use images. This is a really in-depth look of how to build a marketing plan and use a marketing cycle to get people to your box office and then get them from your box office back to your website so you can book shows. So go here, which is wellattended.com/resources. Go ahead and click the next one. Once again, I said, anybody that goes back and watches this and downloads these slides, you can go to this wellattended.com/podcast. You can listen to all of the episodes that we discussed. And if you go in and you click the links in this presentation that you can download, and I'll give you that link for that here in a minute. You can click the link and you can go directly to the episode that we talk about. So you don't have to hunt through everything. Just click it. It'll take you right to the episode that you want to learn about. I'll go ahead and click next. So if you guys are interested in selling tickets, selling more tickets to your shows, making more money from the shows that you're already doing, and get a brainstorming session with me while you're at it, go ahead and sign up for a free Well-Attended account. You'll get kicked an automated email that says, hey, we'd love to work with you. When's a good time to set up a demo? Check that email, send me an email back saying, hey, I saw you at the SAM virtual assembly. I'd love to set up a brainstorming session with you. Shoot me an email. Let me know the best time next week. And we'll see if there's a good time for us to meet up for about an hour. And we can just kind of strategize, see where you are with your show, see if there's ways that we can help you start selling more tickets. Or even if you're like, hey, I'm at a loss, there's so much from this episode. What's the first thing I need to do to get people to come to my shows? We can talk about that. So you can just go to wellattended.com/sign up to sign up for Well-Attended and just get started. We'd love to work with you. Now let's go ahead, John, and give them that link if they want to sign up. And I'll actually share my screen here too. If they want to go ahead and get that, get these resources in the notes, you can go to wellattended. Oh, I need to spell my company name right. wellattended.com/successful first show. This is where you're going to go, and you can actually rewatch the video right here. And if you scroll down just a little bit, you're going to get the workshop slides. All you have to do is pop in your email, and then you'll get those slides. It's very simple. And then if you want to sign up for Well-Attended, you can from right here as well. So that link is wellattended.com/successful first show. And we'll put a link right here in the chat if John hasn't already done that.
I'm working on it.
All right, I'll do that right now then.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Sorry.
No problem. So I've just sent you the link right here in the chat room. You can go there. You can download those slides. You get everything that you just saw with all of those links. And also I've included the link to Paul Gertner's and Danny Archer's site. So if you want to see how Well-Attended works with a site that's live right now, you can click on those people's names on those lists of magicians that we work with, and it'll take you right over to that. Let me post this as well. into this chat room over on YouTube. Let me see if I can sign in here and send it this way. All right, so we've got that link over on YouTube. Also, if you, oh, it's not letting me post a website in the chat room. Great, even though it's our feed. You might want to do that then.
We'll make sure everybody gets it.
Yeah, it is in the lecture notes too. You can go to these 3 things. It's that last link there. Click on that. You can get the notes from the entire show. And I'm pretty open to chat with you guys. If you have any questions, please just shoot me an email. My email is william@wellattended.com. Once again, it's getting dark outside, you can tell. It's william@wellattended.com. If you have any questions from anything that we've talked about today, if you're like, hey, I remember you talked about something about this, can you shoot me more info? I'll be happy to do that. It's william@wellattended.com. John, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to be, I didn't think we'd be here for 2 hours.
William
but I want to
Rader.
thank you for inviting me out and being a part of this.
Thank you so much for all of that information. I'm just getting messages and messages and messages. Like,
Awesome.
this is great. So WellAttended.com, everybody. William, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Just a reminder for everybody. Tomorrow, we will be joined again by the Magic Circle. They're going to do a special lecture featuring the one and only Eugene Berger. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be playing tribute, including Jeff McBride, Larry Haas, Ricardo Rosenkrantz, Robert Charles, Mike Burke, and others. This is taking place, I believe, and somebody might have to correct me because I don't have it right in front of me. I think it's at 1:30, maybe 1:30 my time, 2:30 yours. It'll be on the Assembly V1.1 site. You will be able to watch their live lecture tomorrow at the same page for the SAM members. It will be embedded, unlike the last one they did, so it will be there and ready to watch live. Next month, rumor has it we have something super special. I also want to remind everybody, I can't say who yet because it's things in work and play, but I also want anybody who wants to send me performance videos, wants to send tutorial videos that we can have for our members meetings, feel free to email that to us. The Assembly V1.1 Facebook page is a good way to do it. Plus our emails are generally there. I'll put it in the chat, my email, if you want to send it to me directly. Matthew Crabtree, you can send it to. Just going to ramble on because I know I got to take care of kids. So, ladies and gentlemen, William Rader, amazing job, sir. Thank you again. Give it up one more time, everybody.
Thank you so much. And once again, like I said, feel free to sign up for a free account, get in touch, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about starting your first show and how to make that successful. So thanks again, John.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.